Welcome to the podcast series The New Student Pharmacist, where we discuss chemistry and pharmacy, as well as leaders in pharmacy careers, community, and chemistry and pharmacy research. We encourage you to support the work we are doing and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts by subscribing for free. Note, the views on the podcast represent those of my guest and I.
Purpose of these episodes not at all for advice or medical suggestions. These are aimed to provide support to peer pharmacists in training in educational and intellectually stimulating ways. Again, these are not at all for medical advice or medical suggestions. Please see your local board and state-certified health professional. The views of this podcast represent those of my guests and I.
Sure.
Okay, good. So welcome to the New Chemist podcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Here we discuss ideas, research, and we discuss the successful careers of a number of different people who have had a large societal impact. We've had the likes of Dr. Langer, a co-founder of Moderna, professors from Harvard, MIT. We've had musicians, ambassadors, athletes, and the like. Today we have a special guest, Jason Mraz, a Grammy-winning singer-songwriter who has captivated audiences worldwide with hits like I'm Yours and Lucky. Beyond his musical success, Jason is a passionate advocate for sustainability and environmental causes, particularly regenerative agriculture. We're excited to hear about his journey in music and his work with the Kiss the Ground movement. So as we said, he's a celebrated American singer-songwriter, a favorite artist of mine, a guitarist, best known for his iconic songs such as I'm Yours and Lucky. He's had a remarkable career, earning multiple Grammy Awards and achieving international recognition. Jason has also used his platform to advocate for environmental sustainability and regenerative farming. It is such a pleasure and an honor to have him with me today. So Jason, what initially inspired you to pursue a career in music, and how did you navigate the early stages of your journey?
Well, thank you, David, for that long and very thorough introduction. Music was always in my life. That was always what I wanted to do since I was a little kid. We had a piano in our home, and right away I just gravitated towards the idea of singing songs and eventually composing music. And as a touring musician in my early 20s and all throughout my 20s and 30s, I had a chance to have a bird's eye view of this beautiful world that we live on. I got to visit every continent on this planet and really look down on this earth and realize that we are all stewards of the earth, that each one of us as humans can do our little part to tread lightly on Mother Earth and be a steward in a way that leaves her better than we found it. And certainly throughout our entire lives, we've been informed of the climate change and the unpredictability of our climate, and we've seen dramatic results of that climate change. And so I started to shift my awareness and some of my action to stewardship, to offset my carbon footprint as a traveling artist, living in hotels and airports, flying in planes. I said, what can I do to mitigate this carbon emission, and how can I offset my carbon? And I stumbled on to, of all the many practices I found, regenerative agriculture was one that showed real promise, that showed how regenerative agriculture can sequester carbon, it can rebuild our water aqueducts, it can rebuild topsoil so that we can produce higher quality food. We can protect ourselves from fire by building a more resilient foundation. In fact, joining me on the call today is a gentleman named Finney and Makespeace, who's from the Kiss the Ground organization, and we've produced numerous films now about this. I'll let Finney mention it.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks so much for having us on the show here.
Yes.
We go way back together on this subject. Jason and I were both in music. He's obviously still there, and about 13 years ago, I heard about this idea that Jason's talking about, regenerative agriculture, and it inspired myself and the other co-founder and a whole bunch of us who were living in LA at the time really dedicate our lives to getting the word out about regenerative agriculture, how it's this big solution for water, wellness, climate, biodiversity, farmer livelihood, you name it. It's really incredible what rebuilding healthy soil does for our future and for humanity's future that a lot of times looks pretty bleak. So it's a hopeful message. It's an exciting message. It's a new message for so many people. And it's almost a new thought for so many people to think that we can regenerate our way out of these terrible crises. So Jason's been along the ride with us as we've created the organization Kiss the Ground, which is an education and storytelling nonprofit that works with farmers and partners. And we've also created 2 films that are now heading to Amazon. They just launched on Amazon on Earth Day. So Tuesday, they just came on to Amazon, Kiss the Ground and Common Ground, starring Jason Mraz, of course, but also Jason Momoa, Rosario Dawson, Ian Somerhalder, Laura Dern, Donald Glover, Woody Harrelson. These couple of films really allow people to see why we're so excited about this solution and really change their perspective on how they, as can be stewards of our earth.
Yeah, so that's very good. It's so interesting that you bring up this concept of regenerative agriculture. So could you explain that for lay people? If you were to like, normally when people think about agriculture, they think about, for example, farming, sustainable farming, or commercial farming. So could you explain to for like an average lay person, what is regenerative agriculture and how is it? Is it something that we see taking place in the US currently, or is this like a new concept, a new approach, a new methodology? What is regenerative agriculture?
Well, I answer your question first. It is taking off. In the last 3 years alone, more acreage has been pushed into regenerative agriculture than the previous 3 years combined. We're now at 37 million acres under transition to regenerative agriculture, which is so phenomenal. What it is, in really simple terms, is agriculture that is causing regeneration. So the land getting better as you are farming. The land can function better for water, for nutrient cycling, for all of these elements. It's getting better as you're farming. In most cases in human existence, as we've farmed and provided our food, fiber, and fuel for humanity, we have degraded the land. Killing, ground bare, all of these practices, overgrazing, cause landscapes to degrade. Regenerative agriculture says while you're producing or grazing or whatever you're doing, you're actually building the ecosystem back. So things like cover cropping, keeping the land covered, creating a meaningful way. These are all things that can regenerate the land versus degenerate the land. So most agriculture is degenerative, causing destruction and degradation. Regenerative agriculture does the opposite, rebuilds the soil and regenerates the entire ecosystem.
That's a this is a very good paradigm and a very good solution, in my opinion, from what you are describing. So, Jason, as a musician and environmental advocate, you've built an impressive career. What do you believe is the key to balancing a successful creative career with social activism and personal growth?
I always came home and put my hands on the earth, put my feet in the earth. I sing about it often in my music. In fact, some of my music is in the Kiss the Ground film because I find living as a musician, I'm constantly touring, living in hotels, airports. It's very much about the air elements and the air waves. Here we are talking on the radio, and going home, putting my feet in the earth, working on my garden, planting trees, listening to the pace of Mother Nature and kind of moving at Earth's pace has really allowed me to stay grounded and to stay what I think is inside of a meaningful career, so trying to use my superpowers for good, to leave the world better than I found it. And so similar to regenerative agriculture, where we're trying to make the world better through farming, I'm trying to make the world better through music. So I find I've learned so much from agriculture that has informed me as an artist.
Okay, yeah, this is very good. Very, very good. So
if I can add,
yeah, go ahead.
Farm. He grows avocados, coffee, and other things. He's converted his land and done this and seen it happen on his own property, which is incredible. Not a lot of people take these things on so seriously, but Jason's not just talking about it, he's also doing it. So in the film Kiss the Ground on Amazon that just launched, you can see Jason's property and what he's been doing there. So that's the big announcement. These films are on Amazon. Encourage people to check them out. Number one, share them. First, number two, share them, and then join us at kisstheground.com or commonground.org, commongroundfilm.org. And then we're encouraging people to keep going. Join us at kisstheground.com to continue your journey, get more educated in this, because truthfully, I was always an environmentalist, and until I heard about regenerative agriculture, I was not hopeful. I thought we were just going to all go off the cliff slower, proverbially, but regeneration and regenerative ag really provide a means for so many people to get involved. Anyone can really help this movement. So we're encouraging people to really come out and get involved at the website.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is such an interesting concept that y'all bring up today. I'm not trying to be too technical, but even in healthcare, even in certain research paradigms, when it comes to treating different degenerative diseases, it's one thing to approach it from trying to stop the degeneration. It's another whole paradigm shifting approach when you try to adjust how it is degenerating or try to regenerate things themselves. So that's this is a very good effort. So what are some key challenges this movement?
Very similar.
Yes.
The human health side of it is really important. The health of our soil is very, very similar to the health of our own human body and how it functions. So we can regenerate both our guts and our body's health as well as the soil.
Oh yes. So what are some of the key challenges this movement faces, and how do you think we can overcome them in terms of regenerative farming?
So you want to start?
Key challenges. I mean, the first step is awareness, because like Finian said, he was an environmentalist, and until you find a solution that moves you, you may think the environment's just going to go over the edge of a cliff. And so I think building awareness is key, and turning people on to what regenerative agriculture offers, because there's so many different ways you can practice and participate that make you feel good. There's a lot of information in films how you can get involved, but for example, you can start, if you don't compost already, you can start composting within your home, in your garden, and you started composting movement in your community, mulching and covering your land, planting more perennials, planting more trees to build a leafy green living layer on top of your soil, which is going to draw down that carbon and help build more a whole microorganistic world underneath your soil that's going to do a lot of the building for us. So I think, that's one of the big things Kiss the Ground's been working on for the last 13 years, is building the awareness and taking it to the national and international level where it can actually impact policy, so that we can see some government reform and government support around regenerative ag, so we can move the needle into, more hundreds of millions of acres. And so that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The consumer side too. And 13 years ago when we got involved with this, there weren't any products that were labeled regenerative. Now there's, 4 or 5 incredible certifications for regenerative. So you can go to the grocery store and purchase beef that is actually helping the planet, sequestering carbon, building biodiversity, building resilience. Is beef that is very destructive. So you can make those very conscientious, big choices. Your meat source could all of a sudden be helping versus being a big burden and destruction on the environment. So we are looking at opportunities now that 13 years ago didn't exist. So in your grocery store, you can be a consumer helping this movement go forward faster.
That's right. This morning, I'm drinking regenerative coffee that I got at my grocery store. And coffee is one of the most global acts we do. Every time you drink coffee, it's coming from another country, and you participated in this supply chain of coffee. And so if you can find regenerative coffee, which is now becoming more available, that's participating in a global act that is helping planet.
Yeah, with new members, that's regenerative coffee. It's Kiss Ground Coffee, actually, too, Jason. I don't know if you're drinking that one specifically, but our new regenerative coffee is out right now, which is very exciting. But yeah, we're really folks to go to the website to get involved. This movement is so exciting because, as Jason said, it offers a place for everyone to get involved and find their place that they can contribute. And I don't think a lot of movements feel like that. A lot of movements feel like someone over there is going to do it and deal with it. Not only can you support and donate to the cause, but you can actually directly start helping this stuff and watch it happen in your own communities, watch it happen in networks. And it's a really exciting, bubbling movement. So, folks, please get involved, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you again for joining me. As we wrap up, this whole movement reminds me of one of the lines from Jason's song. Open up your heart, you'll see the sky is yours. So yeah, this is definitely very, very, very impactful. Thank you again for joining me. It's so good to have Jason and Mr. Finian on today for the podcast. It was an incredible discussion. Your work as a musician and his work as an environmentalist is truly inspiring. We look forward to seeing how you continue to make a difference in the world. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today on the New Chemist podcast. We hope you feel inspired to pursue your passions and make a positive impact in your community.
Thanks for listening to the podcast series, The New Student Pharmacist, where we discuss chemistry and pharmacy, as well as leaders in pharmacy careers, community, and chemistry and pharmacy research. We encourage you to support the work we are doing and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts by subscribing for free. We are so glad that you were able to tune in today. Note: the views on the podcast represent those of my guest, and I take care and all the best.